The distant echo of a sinister laugh broke the eerie silence of the abandoned circus grounds. The moon cast long shadows over the tattered tents, their once vibrant colors now faded to muted tones. The gang's van rolled to a halt, headlights slicing through the darkness. Fred, ever the leader, stepped out first, his gaze fixed on the dilapidated big top ahead. Daphne clutched a flashlight, her polished nails trembling slightly, while Velma adjusted her glasses, squinting at the faint glimmer of movement in the distance. Shaggy and Scooby cowered near the van, clutching each other tightly. "Why'd it have to be clowns?" Shaggy muttered, earning a nervous whimper from Scooby. As they ventured deeper into the circus, the desolation became more pronounced. Torn banners flapped weakly in the cool breeze, and rusted carnival rides groaned under their own weight. Velma picked up an old newspaper lying in the dirt. The headline read, "Hypnotist Clown Vanishes Without a Trace." Daphne's flashlight flickered over a group of mannequins dressed as clowns, their cracked faces frozen in grotesque grins. Shaggy yelped as one toppled over, sending a cloud of dust into the air. From the corner of her eye, Velma noticed something glinting in the shadows and moved closer to investigate. The Big Top's entrance loomed ahead, its red and white stripes now faded to dull grays. The gang hesitated, exchanging uneasy glances. Suddenly, the tent's lights flickered on, illuminating the stage within. A ghostly figure of a clown appeared, its translucent form hovering just above the ground. Its hollow eyes glowed an unnatural green as its laughter echoed through the tent. Scooby bolted, dragging Shaggy behind him, while Fred and Daphne stepped forward cautiously. Velma stayed rooted, her analytical mind racing as she tried to make sense of the apparition. Splitting up, the gang searched for clues. Fred and Daphne explored the perimeter, finding tangled wires leading into the tent. Daphne's keen eye spotted a trapdoor hidden beneath layers of dirt and straw. Meanwhile, Velma discovered an ancient projector tucked behind a pile of crates, its lens cracked but still functional. In the food tent, Shaggy and Scooby stumbled upon a cache of half-eaten popcorn and candy apples, but their snack break was interrupted by the sound of heavy footsteps. Turning around, they were met with the glowing eyes of the phantom clown. Back under the big top, the gang regrouped to compare notes. Velma theorized that the ghostly clown was a projection, but the eerie movements and glowing eyes suggested something more. Fred decided to set a trap, rigging the wires they had found earlier. Daphne uncovered an old diary near the trap door, its pages detailing the hypnotist clown's descent into madness. The gang's plan came to life as they worked together, determined to unmask the truth behind the phantom. The clown's laugh grew louder, its spectral form appearing more frequently as the gang executed their plan. Scooby and Shaggy, reluctantly acting as bait, led the ghost toward the center of the tent. The ghost's movements became erratic as it reached the trap Fred had rigged. With a snap, the wires pulled tight and the ghostly figure flickered, revealing its true form. A complex holographic projection controlled from a hidden console beneath the stage. Velma's discovery of the console led the gang to the mastermind behind the haunting. The circus owner, disguised as a maintenance worker, had orchestrated the entire scheme. His motive? To scare off potential buyers and keep the land to himself. Fred confronted him as Daphne filmed the confession, ensuring there would be evidence to turn over to the authorities. Shaggy and Scooby accidentally stumbled upon a vault containing the circus's financial records, providing further proof of the owner's schemes. As dawn broke, the gang stood outside the big top, relieved yet contemplative. The circus owner was taken into custody, his plan unraveled. Velma marveled at the ingenuity of the holographic technology, while Fred and Daphne discussed the eerie realism of the projection. Shaggy and Scooby, munching on leftover carnival snacks, expressed their relief that the ghost was nothing more than wires and lights. The mystery had been solved, but the chilling laughter lingered in their memories. Just as they prepared to leave, Daphne noticed something odd about the diary she had found. Its final pages mentioned a second act that the hypnotist clown had planned before his disappearance. Velma's brow furrowed as she read the cryptic notes aloud. The gang exchanged wary glances, realizing that their work might not be over yet. The van's engine purred to life as Fred drove them away from the circus grounds. Scooby and Shaggy, back to their usual antics, argued over a bag of popcorn while Velma pored over the diary's contents. Daphne, gazing out the window, couldn't shake the feeling that the hypnotist clown's story was far from finished. Fred tightened his grip on the wheel, silently preparing for whatever lay ahead. The gang's conversation turned to lighter topics as they hit the open road, but the ominous presence of the diary loomed in the background. Velma's analytical mind couldn't let go of the unanswered questions, while Daphne theorized about the diary's second act. Shaggy and Scooby, oblivious to the tension, began planning their next snack stop, their laughter filling the van. As they passed a roadside diner, Velma suddenly called for Fred to pull over. She had deciphered a set of coordinates scribbled in the margins of the diary. The gang piled out of the van, their curiosity piqued. The coordinates led them to an abandoned warehouse, its faded sign reading Bedlam Storage. The eerie atmosphere hinted that their adventure was far from over. Inside the warehouse, the gang found remnants of the circus's past: costumes, props, and old posters depicting the hypnotist clown in his prime. Velma uncovered a hidden compartment containing an audio recording of the clown's final performance. Daphne, holding a dusty poster, remarked on the unsettling smile of the clown, while Fred examined the recording equipment. Shaggy and Scooby, meanwhile, inadvertently triggered a hidden passage, sending them tumbling into the depths of the warehouse. The gang regrouped in the hidden chamber, finding themselves surrounded by strange machinery and more holographic equipment. Velma pieced together the clues, realizing that the hypnotist clown had been working on a final grand illusion before his disappearance. As the gang explored, the faint sound of laughter echoed through the chamber, sending chills down their spines. A shadow moved in the darkness, and the gang froze. Scooby let out a nervous whimper as the sound of laughter grew louder. The gang realized that their mystery had taken a darker turn. Velma, clutching the diary tightly, whispered, "It's not over." The van sped off into the rising sun, the gang ready to face the next chapter of the hypnotist clown's haunting tale. The night hung heavy over the small town of Oakhaven, its streets bathed in pale moonlight. A sense of unease lingered in the air, the quiet punctuated only by the distant rustle of leaves. The Mystery Inc. gang arrived in their colorful van, greeted by Ben Ravencroft, the enigmatic author whose invitation had drawn them here. As they stepped out, Fred adjusted his ascot, scanning the quaint yet eerie surroundings. Daphne's heels clicked on the cobblestones as she remarked on the town's peculiar charm, while Velma's eyes lit up at the sight of the historical landmarks. Scooby and Shaggy, however, were distracted by the promise of a local fair advertised on an old, weathered poster. Ben led the group through Oakhaven, sharing tales of its storied past. The town was abuzz with festivities celebrating its most infamous legend, Sarah Ravencroft, an alleged witch who had lived centuries ago. While most dismissed her as a victim of old superstitions, Ben believed she was a misunderstood healer. The gang listened intently, though Shaggy and Scooby's stomachs growled louder than their interest. At the fair, they stumbled upon booths filled with treats, but their enjoyment was short-lived as a spectral figure suddenly materialized, its translucent form shimmering under the carnival lights. The ghostly apparition sent the fair into chaos, scattering the crowd. Fred quickly took charge, rallying the gang to investigate. Velma analyzed the area where the ghost appeared, finding strange burn marks on the ground. Daphne comforted frightened townsfolk, gleaning snippets of information about previous sightings. Meanwhile, Shaggy and Scooby found themselves hiding behind a cotton candy stand, only to be spooked by a floating candlestick. The gang regrouped, piecing together what little they had discovered. Intrigued by the spectral encounter, Velma delved into local archives, uncovering Sarah Ravencroft's grimoire, a book of spells believed to hold immense power. Ben was ecstatic, convinced the book could clear his ancestor's name. However, Daphne's intuition told her there was more to the story. As night fell, the gang ventured into the dense woods surrounding the town. The trees whispered secrets as they approached an ancient ruin, the supposed resting place of the grimoire. Their flashlights flickered ominously, casting eerie shadows on the moss-covered stones. At the ruins, Scooby sniffed out an entrance to a hidden chamber. Inside, they found the grimoire, its leather-bound cover adorned with arcane symbols. Ben's excitement turned to obsession as he cradled the book, mumbling about its potential. Velma noticed inconsistencies in his demeanor, but before she could question him, the spectral figure from the fair reappeared, its ghostly tendrils reaching for the grimoire. Fred instinctively shielded the group as they retreated, narrowly escaping the ruins. Back in town, the gang debated their next move. Velma expressed concerns about the grimoire's true nature, while Fred suggested setting a trap for the ghost. Daphne's research unearthed a chilling revelation. Sarah Ravencroft wasn't the innocent healer Ben claimed her to be. She was, in fact, a powerful witch who had been sealed away by her own villagers. The gang realized the ghost wasn't haunting them but warning them. Ben's behavior grew increasingly erratic. Under the pretense of defending Sarah's honor, he revealed his true intentions: to use the grimoire to resurrect her and claim her power. The gang confronted him in the town square, but Ben's recitation of an incantation unleashed a dark force that enveloped Oak Haven. Sarah Ravencroft emerged from the shadows, her spectral form transforming into a corporeal, malevolent entity. Her piercing gaze sent shivers down their spines. Sarah wasted no time asserting her dominance, summoning shadowy minions to do her bidding. The Hex Girls, a local gothic band, joined forces with the gang, using their knowledge of Wiccan lore to counter Sarah's spells. Fred and Daphne worked to protect the townsfolk, while Velma and the Hex Girls deciphered a counterspell. Scooby and Shaggy, as usual, stumbled into trouble, accidentally finding a weak point in Sarah's defenses. The battle escalated as Sarah's power grew, her spells causing buildings to crumble and the ground to quake. The gang's coordinated efforts kept them one step ahead, but it was clear they were running out of time. Velma realized that the grimoire itself was the key to sealing Sarah away. With the Hex Girls' help, she crafted a plan to reverse the incantation while Fred and Daphne distracted Sarah. In a dramatic climax, Scooby and Shaggy managed to retrieve the grimoire, invading Sarah's minions in a chaotic chase through the town. Velma began the counterspell, her voice steady despite the swirling chaos around her. Sarah turned her wrath on Velma, but the gang's unity held strong. As the final words of the spell were uttered, Sarah's form disintegrated, her screams fading into the night. The grimoire sealed itself, its arcane glow fading as it became dormant once more. The town breathed a collective sigh of relief, though the damage left behind was a stark reminder of the danger they had faced. Ben, stripped of his ambitions, was handed over to the authorities, his reputation in ruins. The Hex Girls received applause for their bravery, and the townsfolk expressed their gratitude to the gang. As dawn broke over Oak Haven, the gang prepared to leave. Velma studied the grimoire one last time, ensuring it would be secured away from prying hands. Fred reflected on their teamwork, while Daphne expressed hope that the town would heal. Scooby and Shaggy, exhausted but happy, indulged in a feast prepared by grateful locals. Their laughter echoed through the square, a stark contrast to the night's events. Just as they thought the adventure was over, Velma's sharp eye caught a faint glow from the grimoire. Though dormant, its energy lingered, hinting at untold secrets. Fred started the van, ready to move on. But the gang couldn't shake the feeling that their work with Sarah Ravencroft might not be finished. The Hex Girls bid them farewell, promising to keep an eye on Oakhaven. As the van rolled out of town, the gang's conversation shifted to lighter topics. Shaggy and Scooby argued over the last slice of pie, while Velma pondered the implications of what they had witnessed. Daphne snapped a photo of the sunrise, determined to preserve the memory of their victory. Fred, focused on the road ahead, smiled at his friends, their bond stronger than ever. The open road stretched before them, but the grimoire's faint glow remained in Velma's thoughts. "We'll be ready for whatever comes next," Fred said confidently. Scooby let out a cheerful Scooby-Dooby-Doo as the gang sped off into the horizon, leaving Oakhaven behind but carrying its story with them, ready for the next mystery to unfold.